If a person lies on Form 4473 and is a user of unlawful drugs, you can get between 5 to 10 years for that. Is that correct? Is that my understanding?
No, I believe Congress changed the sentence last Congress.
What is that sentence now?
Up to 15.
Up to 15 years. Why hasn't Hunter Biden been prosecuted for the crime that he committed?
I'm not aware of the facts of that case and can't comment on it.
Okay, who do we talk to see why this case is not being prosecuted? I mean, he said very clearly in his book that he used drugs, he had at least a gun.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Republican Tom Tiffany there sending a fiery question towards Senior Director of Policy for Everytown for Gun Safety, Rob Wilcox. Within the hearing, ATF's assault on the Second Amendment, when is enough enough, the President's son was brought up. Mr. Tiffany questioned what the consequences were for an individual who lies on ATF Form 4473 and is a user of unlawful drugs. You can get between 5 and 10 years for that. Is that correct? He asked Mr. Wilcox. Rob Wilcox corrected the Congressman, declaring the sentence can now reach up to 15 years jail time. Congressman Tiffany asked if that's the case, then how has Hunter Biden not been prosecuted for the crime he committed? Mr. Wilcox said, I'm not aware of the facts of that case and can't comment on it. Who do we talk to see why this case is not being prosecuted? He said very clearly in his book that he used drugs, Tiffany replied. Tom Tiffany's questioning is just another example of a GOP member attempting to see Joe Biden's son face some sort of accountability. When the Republican Party won back control of the House at the midterm elections, members vowed to hold the Biden family accountable for various allegations. One of the allegations is that Hunter Biden lied on his form in relation to the purchase of a firearm. Hunter bought a handgun in October 2018 when he was a drug user, but answered no when filling out the form that required a declaration of drug use. In his 2021 memoir, Beautiful Things, he even detailed his struggles with drug addiction in that time. This allegation is currently being probed in a federal investigation operated out of Delaware and has been since 2018. In October, the Washington Post revealed agents probing Hunter Biden had sufficient evidence to charge him with tax crimes and lying on this form to buy a firearm. Joe Biden was asked about this investigation last year when he sat for an interview with CNN's Jake Tapper.
He wrote a book about his problems and was straightforward about it. I'm proud of him. He came along and said, by the way, this thing about a gun, I didn't know anything about it, but turns out that when he made my application to purchase a gun, what happened was I guess you get asked, you get asked the question, are you on drugs, you use drugs? He said no. And he wrote about saying no in his book. So I have great confidence in my son. I love him. And he's on a straight and narrow, and he has been for a couple of years now, and I'm just so proud of him.
Despite federal agents believing there was enough evidence, Hunter Biden is yet to be charged. The investigation has been conducted by US Attorney David Weiss, who was appointed by former President Donald Trump. Joe Biden didn't replace him when he was sworn into office because it could look like a conflict of interest if he stood down the man investigating his son. Despite this, any potential prosecution or indictment of charges made would come down to the Department of Justice or Attorney General Merrick Garland, who was appointed by Joe Biden. Because of this, in July, there were calls for a special counsel to be appointed for fears this investigation wouldn't lead to a fair result.